Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad that they're good.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, the high school thing is very
It's very well.
southern. In Louisiana, if they ask you where you went to school, they don't even know.
Oh.
High school didn't go to.
So I've been practicing my reenactment,
Hello.
I think I've got it down pretty well.
Okay. I will warn you guys that, the Dresden agenda that Rick so gladly left in my lap
It's huge.
is huge. I am going to eliminate most of it tonight so that we can be done possibly by 7,
Perfect.
so that we can move on to the SAU meeting, which is beefy as well.
Yeah, we're first.
And so I am gonna suggest, no, it's okay, but I just want, if you had your heart set on the reenactment, I didn't wanna spring that on you last minute that you weren't gonna get the chance. I wanted to make sure that you had time.
No.
Union stuff in non-public at Dresden?
I was planning to give the board an update on the status of negotiations, but let them know that anything requiring a vote or action would be at the next meeting, because the union would still need to have one.
Are we that far along?
Yeah. Barrett did thank me though for the beer.
First thing he said to me when he was "You're going to be nice to me, aren't you?"
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to cultivate this fear.
I actually went to a really good thing. It's the first time I've done
I fixed my hair. It's not showing up well on
Yeah,
the camera. Oh, Ben, I inadvertently went to a meeting about a school board association meeting. It's all about policy changes.
You accidentally go to a school board
Because we
meeting.
saw legislative update and I ignored the word policies.
Hello, Linda.
And Ryan was
Hi, how are
there.
you?
And I said, is
I
there
know,
anything,
I
I emailed her, I said, I think you're on the meet call, and I've got notes, and she said she would take it.
I know.
Yeah, but I have very good notes.
Oh, that's right, she did mention that. I
The
remember that.
darkness, the
She was that
ice,
false
yeah.
something
be
too.
positive, Linda,
That's
it's
like an
beautiful.
in-person
I
meeting.
know.
No,
There
I
were
was in my
more famous
kitchen.
people there.
I
I could have done other things.
Good. I was.
But
when I
I'm
walked
also
in here,
volunteering in Matt's class again this year. I don't know if you know last year.
Layers, lots of layers.
And listen to first graders leave. And she said to me,
That's right.
you know, I'm not ready for you to be in school. And I said, I didn't think you would be.
Doesn't it seem
First
like
day
you
I
just
walked
did
in,
this now?
Kim was running a little late. She knew I was probably going to be.
I know.
Get this.
Crazy. I know.
Do you know Marcella? I said, yes, I know your mom. Do you know Trev? And it was, she said,
I'm always willing to.
they don't know that I
Yeah,
have a brother.
that is more than
There's a
just a
little
help
boy
out.
named
I think
Scott.
secretly, maybe not
Oh.
something you should have done play that.
Don't use my nickname, and they don't know I have a brother.
Yeah, well, what are you doing? I saw it.
I
Oh,
met
this
your
is
daughter. She
Yes.
was
I
so
mean,
twinkly.
I'm there to facilitate.
It was very
It's all
funny.
about neuroscience.
Oh,
We've
Yeah,
got
that's right.
all the
And
passion here is just,
Alyssa's in the
yeah.
class.
Yeah, that
A
looks
kiddo
really
from
really
Afghanistan who
The whole
drove to
desire to take
daycare. I mean,
other students
Yeah,
on
but
this
nursery,
adventure so they
doctor
can
visits,
experience what these
babysitting
experience
for
as
them.
investigators.
Yeah.
I know you
Pages
too.
talking.
Yeah.
It's funny to see the people that you know from totally different
Oh, she
contexts,
was
yeah.
so fun to see me. She was like, they were all over the place when I walked in, so it was them.
Oh, good.
But them
Wow.
also
Yeah.
not use themselves. It's just so much fun.
Okay.
Thanks
so
much.
I was like, this is kind of gross, Mom. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
So he made a point of like calling me mom.
All right, gang.
I'm just excited.
Welcome this evening to the Dresden board meeting. My name is not Rick Johnson. I am filling in for Rick this evening as he is out of town. So you are either lucky or unlucky. I will let you figure that out on your own. We're going to start this meeting this evening with a public hearing. We have two donations to consider. The first is a donation from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation for Hanover High School's nationwide eclipse balloon project team to attend the American Astronomical Society meeting in New Orleans. Do we have any members of administration that would like to speak to this, or are we just gonna send out a huge thank you to the Byrne Foundation?
Huge thank you, and they have been writing each other, and she's been wanting to support this more. So that's why they wrote again, because she wants to, they're on fire. As you can probably see what they're doing, and
No pun intended with
exactly.
the eclipse, right? Gotcha,
And
okay.
she wanted to support them, so.
Okay. Board members, any questions regarding this donation? Yes, Tony.
Do we know if this would fully fund this trip or if?
Yeah,
or
so
other
they're not gonna
expenses?
take everybody. So they're gonna take a few of the students to present, and so they feel like this would take care of it. And if it doesn't, I think they felt like to have the kids pay for the food that they would normally be eating at home or something like that would be fine, but it would fund the airfare.
Any other questions from board members? Ben?
How is it decided who gets to go and who doesn't get to go?
The advisor is gonna decide, and I think they're writing something, and it's the kids that are the most involved at this point, and the ones that wanna go because they're missing more school.
Not ability to pay or anything like that?
No.
Any other questions from board members on this one? If not, I will look for a motion. Go ahead.
Move to approve the donation with gratitude from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation in the amount of $10,000 for Hanover High School's nationwide eclipse balloon project team to attend the American Astronomical Society meeting in New Orleans.
Is there a second? I'm going to give that one to Deb Nelson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to do a roll call vote because I have Mr. Costa online, starting with Tony.
Barry, yes.
Hartman, yes.
O'Connell, yes.
Treman, yes.
Odell, yes.
Keeney, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Michael.
Costa, yes.
All right. That is unanimous, folks. Thank you very much. Moving on then to the second item in our public hearing
Lisa's over
tonight.
there in the corner for some reason.
I'm a yes as well.
Lisa, come sit at the table, please, so that I am aware that you are here with us. Sorry for the screw up. Moving on then to another donation in our public hearing this evening, this time from the class of 1973. Do we have any graduates from the class of 1973 with us this evening? Kim.
It's underneath the amount, I think.
Yeah, so this is for $1,500 and I am in full support of it. I just, from a process perspective, I believe we updated our policy that we don't need to have public hearings for those that are less than $5,000. So I just.
Yep.
Right, Jay, do you know where we are on that? Because we called about it and Ryan told us to put it on. So are we fully through the process of updating, and what am I doing?
Tell you what, we can take that matter up after this board meeting in order to cover all bases tonight. I'll just look for a motion to approve this evening, and then we can worry about cleaning things up after the fact.
Yeah.
The total dollar amount, I believe, is $1,506.58 for anybody that would be interested in making a motion. But, Deb, did you have a question first?
No.
Or why don't you go right ahead with the motion then?
Okay, move to approve the donation of a metal bench with gratitude from the Hanover High School class of 1973 as presented.
Second by Tony. Any further discussion from the board on this?
My understanding is that we don't have to approve it, but it is included in the agenda so that we can provide appropriate acknowledgement and thanks.
It is.
So the word.
It was also listed in the agenda, though, as a matter for, it wouldn't necessarily require a public hearing, but it is in there anyway. So we do have a motion, we do have a second. Any further discussion on this? No. Roll call vote starting with Tony.
Gary, yes.
Brittany, yes.
Oh, yes. Carmen, yes.
Adele, yes.
Teeny, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Costa, yes.
All right, that is unanimous. Thank you very much, board. Moving on then to agenda review. Folks, if you took a look at the agenda tonight, you saw how long it was, and then you saw that we were looking to finish by 7 o'clock. So I thank Rick Johnson for laying this on me, and I'm going to propose to you that we make a few changes to the agenda this evening, and that is to remove some items or punt them to a future meeting. I suggest that we move the HS Annual Quality Indicator Reports, the current enrollment projections and class sizes, and the PragerU financial literacy discussions to a future meeting. We will leave the other items, which are March intensive discussion and then the MS-25, DOE-25, and potential retainage amount on the agenda. Lisa?
I'm fine with that. I just have a question about the PragerU thing. Is that time sensitive? And I'm looking at Deb.
Well, that was the only thing, is that I would like to at least just have a share moment. It doesn't have to be a discussion moment.
Okay. I will then,
How does that sound?
I agree.
we will share, but I'm gonna,
Oh, yeah.
limited, yep, okay.
I also brought cookies for intermission, so we'll be all sugared up for the SAU meeting.
Yeah, we should be. I'm just worried about getting us to the SAU
Got it.
meeting at this point.
Just saying.
All right, is anybody opposed to those changes? Kim?
No, but I would say just from a timing perspective for the current enrollments, if there are any particular feedback that you think would be helpful for the budget committee to think about for next year in regards to those class size and enrollments, either send Jay an email or, however the best way to communicate that is, because on November 1st, we're going to be looking at the first draft of this budget. And I just felt like that kind of discussion would be helpful for that meeting. So if we're going to punt it another month, that's fine. But if there's anything that people want to share, that might be a good meeting to either come to or send your thoughts.
Yep. Sorry, and to be clear, Kim is right. I didn't say don't read the agenda item and don't do your homework. I just said that we're going to move the board level discussion to a future meeting. And then I believe, Kim, you were also suggesting that we could remove one item from non-public discussion.
Yes.
Which
D,
was the
non-public D.
Yes,
The committee discussion.
Yep, the Dresden tuition committee discussion. We will no longer need to entertain that this evening. Okay, sorry, any other board members opposed to the recommended change to the agenda this evening? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go with a consensus on that one. I'm going to move into public comments. Are there any members of the public with us this evening that would like to provide comments?
Raise your hand.
Seeing none in the room. Anyone online on Zoom that would wish to provide comment, please raise your hand. Let us know. All right. Seeing none, then moving along to report of council. Josh, what have you got first tonight?
So I'll try to make this quick.
Do not feel pressure.
I like it though. He's picking up on the tenor here. This is good.
So last month I told you all about the town halls that we're now having. So last Thursday we had our first town hall with the senior class. And I think it sparked a lot of conversation that was very promising, but there's definitely a learning curve with organizing a group of 200 of your peers to have a discussion about school government. So I'm just excited to see where we'll go with it in the future, really. But I think it was promising for what it was, being our first one. In terms of council business recently, we did not pass a plant motion, which was to get a plant for an advisory, but I think it's more important that this sparked conversation of how we're considering how we'll get money to advisories in the future. And then in addition, last meeting, a motion was brought by JCOM, the Judiciary Committee, which is like a council committee, but it's also separate, so it's like the judicial branch at Hanover. And so they are bringing a motion to basically remove intention from the handbook when they're considering students' actions, because they say it's impossible to determine intention. I mean, like things like plagiarism, for example. In addition, they're adding language to need a preponderance of evidence to clarify the standard of evidence used to determine the guilt of a student. So this was a difference based on if they were using like this criminal law standard, and so they're switching it to the civil law standard. And then they're also motioning to have course standards readily available on Schoology. I think this is particularly important because this highlights all the branches of HHS government really working together and coexisting. So I think that's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Any questions for council this evening? Thank you very much, Josh. Moving on then to principals reports, and first up is the high school principals report.
Lots going on, as you can see. The one might describe the first town hall as the first pancake. There were parts of it that were not great, but it was very promising. Josh, you're very diplomatic. It was promising. Yeah, no, if anyone has questions, I've been hard at work trying to put different departments down for you to read about, working on budget.
Any questions for our high school principal this evening? Seeing none, thank you very much. Richmond Middle School.
We have a ton going on as well. Let's see. So I did try to put the trigger warning in there about the brain project.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have to think about doing this. And then I wanted, when we had talked last spring about some of the changes structurally we had made in 8th grade math, people had asked for sort of an opening of the year report, and it's over on where we are with that. So that's what I tried to do, sort of to outline the philosophy behind doing what we did, and then sort of the logistics of how we're getting it done. So we basically have a huge number of 8th grade students who are working individually at an individual pace on whatever their skill level is at the moment, going as fast as they feel they can. That is often defined partly by them and partly by their parents. I think this all said it best. Like some of them we're pulling and the parents are pushing them from home and they're trying to get them to move a little bit faster. They have developed sort of organically their own peer groups and their classes. So if you go by the class, it's really interesting to watch. Students who are all working sort of on their own stuff. I'm not as worried as where everyone else is, because they know that that's not really as important. What's important is where they are. So far, 2 months in, it seems to be going pretty well. We're continuing to work with this idea of, we have, our math teachers are going to meet tomorrow's Wednesday, in the afternoon, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and they're going to try to create this skill set list that they have from 6th grade through the end of algebra. So they can basically create a spreadsheet like that to say, here's the sequence that you would be able to do starting in 6th grade and getting to the point where you would be ready to take a geometry H class at high school. And we'll help you get there when you're able to get there. Any other questions about other stuff?
Questions for our middle school principal? Go ahead, Kelly.
2 comments, if that's okay. First off, on the math, I've heard a lot of discussion about it, and it seems to be working really well for the kids for whom it's working really well, and be a real struggle for the kids for whom it's not working well. That's just kind of what I've heard in the community. So that may have been true regardless of how we were teaching the math class. I don't know. But the executive functioning skill piece is still something I think we need to be mindful
That's
of.
one of the things that we're mindful of and that we're working on, and trying to figure out how it will be different to individualize 6th and 7th grade as well, because their developmental level isn't the same. our experience from doing this sort of as a pilot in the spring last year with some of our algebra classes was that it was almost a direct switch. The people for whom everybody doing the same thing at the same time seemed to really work, they don't like this as much. The people for whom everybody doing everything at the same time was super stressful, this is much better. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can some way do in between. And they did spend a lot of, Katie and Carla spent a lot of time this summer creating lessons that are actually visual video lessons that you can watch. So it's not like you have to read it and figure it out on your own. There is the teacher going through the thing on the board and explaining to you.
Just wanted to pass along.
Yeah,
this here.
no, it's,
And the other piece, I just wanted to give a shout out and a full disclosure, it involved my own children as well, but to the kids who ran the chat. I think it was a really cool community building experience. And the tent on the green had kids who were participating, who were just there to cheer, just there to support. And thank you to Lily for helping to organize it. She did a great job.
yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the school principal tonight? Seeing none, thank you. Woohoo. Moving right along then, we are already at item 6C, March intensive.
I thought I was gonna be, I saw the agenda, I thought it was gonna be a little bit.
No, not on my watch.
We got Neil in charge.
I think I know most people here. My name is Matt Prince, and one of my roles at Hanover High School is that I'm the March Intensive Coordinator. That's one of my favorite parts of the job. This year, March Intensive turns 16 years old. We're entering into it. It remains a really popular program among students and among parents. Don't know if you had a chance to view it or not, but we shared with you the film that the Blue Ribbon School Commission, right? They thought it was notable and sort of distinct about the Hanover High School experience, and so they came to try to capture that. We're excited because I think one is hopefully other schools can learn from our experience and can maybe try a similar program, but we're also excited to have something that can maybe better capture what it is within our community for the kids who haven't experienced it yet. So that's exciting. It went along with just a couple of years ago. It actually got publicity with Lori Santos from Yale and her happiness blog, where she featured the Canine University course. So it's good to see it getting lots of attention. From our survey from last year, 90% of students reported that March Intensive was a valuable experience for them. 88% of parents echoed the same comments. That's despite the fact there were challenges last year, that March Intensive was actually only 2.5 days, given that we had a day and a half of delays. So I think, we utilized the time that we did have well, and luckily the groups that were getting out of Hanover, by and large, they were able to get out, before the storm. So it didn't impact that part of the program. This year, we're particularly excited about the program of studies. When you look at sort of what's out there, the March Intensive is designed to sort of expand, what's possible for Hanover High School students to learn different subjects and to learn in different ways and to learn in different settings. And I think that we accomplish a lot of those goals. And whether, you want to study neuroscience with doctors at DHMC, whether you want to mentor kids in our elementary schools, serve the neediest in our community at Cover or at the Haven. If you want to build, right, you can build houses, you can build keyboards, you can build longboards, traditional woven backpacks, so it's out there. It's a different approach to learning, but I like to think that there's something for everyone in there. One of the things that you'll notice that's new this year is that we've tried with the partnership with the Environmental Club to capture the carbon impact. We want people to make good choices based on all of the costs. And so particularly for our travel program, the Environmental Club was really kind, and they put in the estimates as to what the carbon impact would be of the travel. And so that's there. We're excited that that's included in the program of studies this year. This year, when you look at the program of studies, it's divided down into different categories. We have 419 full-day spots, 106 regional travel spots. Those are anything from Montreal to New York City. We've got 88 distant travel spots, 30 independent study spots, and then approximately 85 for the combined for the the half-day courses. So, total, there's, we're this year, I think we're at 684 for enrollment, and there's over 724 spots, but we also have a Spanish exchange going. So there's still a lot of flexibility. Not all of these courses that we see will run. Most of them will. Staff who are assigned courses that don't receive enrollments will be reassigned. The other thing is, I think that, in terms of being in line with what you saw last year, it's pretty similar in terms of that breakdown, in terms of the number of, there's a little bit less international travel this year. There's a little bit more regional. Part of that has to do with just the economics of, we've kept to our price cap of $2,000, and it's really challenging to do something for less than that. I will point out too that the last time I was here, there was some discussion about travel and to what degree is it supported within our community. We did do a survey of parents at the end of last year's program, and there was the question that was a statement that read, "The March Intensive Committee caps the number and the cost of distant and regional travel courses so that families are not asked to repeatedly cover the cost of these experiences and ensure that there is sufficient funds for scholarships for students in need. Would you prefer?" And the options were to expand the number of spots, which came in at 32%, maintain the current practice, which the families came in at 50%, and then 6% said eliminate those travel options. And then the other 12, it was a range of individual comments. Some were supportive, offering sort of ideas for destinations. Some were saying more regional and less distant, but they're, it's fair to say they broke sort of 50-50 in terms of being in support of the travel and being against it. Students overwhelmingly, it was like 98% wanted to see the travel either increased or maintained. Not too surprisingly, right? That they want to get out and see something new. I could go on and on, but I know that there want to be some discussion. I know that there's questions, so I will stop talking. And you want to call on people now, or if people have questions or comments for me?
So I will start with Deb.
We still have TBD for the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So when do you anticipate?
So that's actually, so it's a Google Doc. It's actually in there now.
Oh, it is?
It's not, but you have a PDF copy of it, unfortunately. So I think for the board docs, Ryan took whatever it was on Friday, right? Yeah, for a snapshot in time. But those are actually inputted, and assuming the board approves the courses, they'll go live in the public on Thursday, and it includes that information. Okay. But I can pull up the document, but it's got it in there. But the highest one has like a carbon, it's like something like, it's the one to Greece, and I think it has like 4,600 pounds of carbon. Italy's not that far behind at 4,200. The ones to New York, because they're going to be filling a coach bus for that one, it's only like 56 pounds of carbon. Arkansas is like 1,300 pounds. So it's a range out there. And then ones that were, there are some that are, if they're within the immediate community, like we didn't try to capture it if they were going to a White River Junction, because it's not, non-typical from regular schools.
Kelly, go ahead.
I just wanted to disclose that my name is associated with one of these. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that. So I was asked by a student to help construct the Montreal French immersion March Intensive. So if at any point it seems appropriate for me to step away from decision making, let me know.
I think it would be appropriate for you to step away from decision making on this one. Yeah. Any other questions from board members? Tony?
I notice there's one course that is for students who identify as female, and I'm wondering if we have in the past ever limited a program to a particular
destination,
student, profile.
Well, I mean, that is a trip that has run in previous years. It did generate a lot of conversation even within the committee about whether, I think there was this idea to having an experience that's exclusive for females, a few years back wouldn't have been controversial, and it's people who identify as female. The idea that it's in part on the destination, but the trip has this focus on female empowerment. And so the course leaders felt strongly that that it's been valuable for the people who have had it, and they wanted to maintain it. We have had courses before that have just seemed to have more appeal to a particular gender. And so unintentionally, we've had single gendered courses before. But that's the only one that has a prerequisite on gender. And, you know, I think we're open to feedback on it. We did have a lot of conversation. We think it's great. We think that people who go on it have a great experience. We'd love it if there was some sort of equivalent, right, so someone else, you know, if you're not female and you wanted to, you know, see the West and explore with a certain theme, that would be something that would be good to have. But you know, we don't have that in this year's program studies.
Any other board member questions?
Oh yeah, actually, I'm sorry. There is thanks. Julie brings that up. The other course is the self-defense for the rape aggression defense course. That's a prerequisite and Hanover Police actually comes in and teaches that course. And based on that curriculum and program, they still have that requirement that it only be open to people who identify as female. So that there are actually two. Yeah.
So based on the fact there's now elevated caution for worldwide travel, when and how do you guys assess the risk for going abroad, and what's the cutoff point for making that call?
So we look at the State Department page, and for example, there was a trip that was proposed originally to Mexico. Generally what we do is the State Department breaks it down into 4 classifications: do not travel, reconsider travel, increased precautions, and standard precautions. And everything from level 2 and below, the increased precautions, depending on, you know, where they're going, what they're doing, that's where we've kept it at. We've never experienced a point where a trip has, you know, had their designation change in between signups and when we actually go. Well, except for COVID. Yes. COVID, that was everything. Yeah. But that was sort of that wasn't really like.
Forgetting that.
It wasn't geopolitical. Yeah. We did cancel a couple. I think
it was expensive.
Yeah, it was expensive. So obviously, with everything going on in the world, right, it's something that we'll want to alarm them. I think they're going Greece and Italy. Hopefully, they, you know, maintain, you know, be, you know, safe places. But it's something we'll evaluate. I'll be perfectly honest and feel like that's probably above my pay grade, and I'd look to you know, Jay and Jamie and Julie for assistance if we were to come to that. But you know, our hope is that the world remains, you know, safe and stable. And I certainly think that getting students out into it at this age, where they're sort of forming their whole idea of who they are and where they fit, it's really impactful. So yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah. This looks. I'm excited actually for the kids for this, but I do have a couple questions. It feels as if sometimes where we get in trouble is the independent study portion, and where people put together an independent study that is for a group of kids or for a kid that involves international travel or high expenses or those sorts of things. And I'm just wondering, I mean, I see that they have to talk to Ford, and you know, there are strict guidelines for independent study in the state of New Hampshire. And also Hanover, Norwich area parents can be very persuasive. And I'm wondering, I just am wondering what you all, like what sort of thought you all have given to that. Because I know that there were some issues last year, and I don't want that to happen again and put you in a bad situation.
Yeah, so we've got it, it's a somewhat competitive process in that we've got 25 spots, although if there's a combination of, you know, 2 or 3 people working together, we'll sort of put it, because it's not as much work for the advisor. We really, when we look at the independent study application, we try to focus on what are the learning goals as opposed to where the destination is going to be, understanding that they're not going to be in Hanover High School. So have they put together a plan? Do they have reasonable goals? You know, in terms of we try to focus on that and not look at the destination. That part of our program is excluded from our financial aid portion, in a sense that students understand that if they sign up for an independent study, that they have to, you know, they're responsible for it. Most of them, you know, I'd want to do a quick scan to make sure I'm accurate. Most of them, I think most of them are local. You know, there certainly are a portion though of people who travel. Sometimes it's because, you know, there's a need for a family to be somewhere, and they want to constructively use that week. So they design an independent study that's centered around the location or the activities that they can do there. But
there's also that sign off for parents that we
Yeah, that the parents have to, one is the parents have to sign off, they have to sign the application. It's one of the reasons that we don't take electronic copies, because we want a signature on there, and they have, they have to understand that for that week and that purpose that they are, excused from Hanover High School. I will say that, a complaint that we get from students from independent study is that there's a lot of work that leads up to it, right? And sometimes it's certainly not an easy way, out. But students have had done some really remarkable things too during independent study during that week, and so it's so I think we feel good about what people have done, but we understand that that there is, some people are able to do things in different places that maybe some people aren't. Yeah.
So, good one follow-up. Based on that, I'm wondering why there's no financial aid available for an independent study, because that feels like that excludes some families or some students who, I'm wondering why you all did that.
Well, I think that, with March Intensive, there's an academic component to it, right?
Right.
We want kids to learn about this, but we also, there's the sense of building community within our school. So we want the bulk of the experience, right, to take place, in our community, with our kids, with our teachers, because I think the relationships that are formed are one of the best benefits, I think, that are derived from the program. So I don't know that we want to be promoting independent study when it's not, and then the costs can be so variable with that too. I'm thinking about it as you say, and it's just been something that we don't do that. And now that we've raised the question, I think it's something that as the committee, we'd like to consider it,
I don't know how the money would run through the school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a problem,
Yeah.
an issue with the funding streams.
If it's
We
an
had one
independent
last
study.
year where I almost won.
Okay. Okay. That I understand. I'm thinking of it from an equity perspective, that if there's a child from a family that.
For our courses, right, there's pretty rigorous financial accounting where we've got to put together the proposals, we've got to put the POs in, and we've got to show all the receipts, and, giving out money for a kid and saying, come back with this, that would be, thinking about it, that would create a lot of,
Thank you.
that'd be difficult. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Neil, but
That's
thank
right.
you.
Kim?
Several years right now, and every year we talk about March Intensive, and every year the independent study question comes up. I'm just wondering if maybe we could get a list of the independent studies from the prior year or something to highlight, so it doesn't feel as unknown, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think that there are probably really, really great projects that are done, and I just would like to see them.
We certainly can get them to you,
and I don't know what the best way, because I don't necessarily know, I don't think the board should be necessarily approving each one, but like
a sense of what they're doing, right? And of course, on the spot, I'm trying to think. There definitely were some that were travel, there were some that were based in Florida, but there were also some that were, I would say the majority of them were local, but we could certainly get a list together and we could present that at a future meeting for sure. Yeah.
And there's a presentation when they get back before, and so we could, I don't know if he's recorded any of that, but we might.
We have a list. We
share that.
can certainly get, that wouldn't be hard to put together. It exists, so, yeah.
Any other questions related to March Intensive?
the only other thing is I maybe want to echo the comment. I just have a legal question about restricting the women in the West. It would make me feel better if we can kind of confirm that there isn't some sort of discrimination piece to it. I think health classes, there have been exceptions to it, which I think is the argument for the martial arts part, but I just.
Yeah, could I ask you to work with administration just to get some clarification on that? I understand your point of view, and I think it'd be akin of being able to run a class here in the building and restricting it to only a certain portion of the student body, right? If we can't do that, I don't think that we should be doing the same thing for a March Intensive program, which these students are actually getting, credit for. Right.
Technically, they don't.
I don't think it's anything to hold up the approval this evening, but I do want administration to follow up and get an answer to the question. Yeah, Kelly?
Just a semantic thing on that point. It actually says this course is designed for students who identify as female. So if it is going to be limited just to students who identify as female, I would change the wording as well, because I don't know that that necessarily says you can only sign up if you are, right, identifying as female. So
Yeah. I mean, I
if we
think that-
come down on that
yeah, I
direction,
think- I
I'd
think we could-
clarify that.
We could clear that up.
Yeah, let's get the legal clarification first, and then you can figure out what to do after that.
Would you like us to, I mean, are we talking about for sort of for future years? Are we talking about for this year? Hold pause on that course before we.
I don't know that you need to put a pause on it. I think you need to get an answer to the question,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And if the answer to the question is put a pause on it, then
Yeah.
I think you know
We'd
what
love
do,
to
right?
release the program of studies on Thursday if we can. So if, as long as we can get an answer by then, that would be.
And
we
if
would
you
appreciate
can't,
it.
then yes,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
withhold that course until you do get an answer.
Okay.
Kim?
No, no, it's okay.
Okay.
I made note to check with legal tomorrow, and I'll also report back to the board when I get an answer.
Okay, thank you. Board, any further questions? This is going to show up in a little bit under business requiring action. So if you have any questions now would be a great time to get them. No? Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to MS 25, DOE 25, and potential retainage amounts.
I knew you were gonna say that, and I'm opening my computer right now, sorry.
If that's going to take a second, I am
I'm
going,
with you.
okay. I was ready to fill the empty void there.
No, I'm enjoying.
Okay.
I can go.
So you have the, lovely notes here for dinner. The DOE 25 is posted, as is the MS 25. The MS 25 comes off of the DOE 25. For those of you who were at the Hanover meeting, you're familiar with looking at things. For those of you who weren't, and are new to the board, this is a financial wrap-up of all of 22 and 23 for all of the balance sheet items, the expenditures, the revenues that have come in, and how all the due to, due froms go back and forth together, which is a blast. And so at the end of the day, usually the most important piece that somebody wants to know is what is the unassigned fund balance? That can be found on the bottom of page 1. It is page 1, number 35, and the object code, 770 is, 770. Now, that 400,000 in that report represents the dollar amount of the unassigned fund balance that we projected as a revenue offset to assessments when we built the 23-24 budget. Think about all the numbers, because we're in 3 years, right? That is not the total unassigned fund balance for this year. The total unassigned fund balance would be line 35 and line 32, which would be 669,415.37. And so, because we're gonna have a conversation about retainage, I moved, assuming, maybe too early, I don't know, projecting is a better word, that you may choose to retain the 269,415.37. So if you do choose to do that, it would live in that line right there as we file the DOE and the MS 25. If you choose not to do that dollar amount, that's fine. We can change it and we'll just re-upload it. Okay, and so for the Vermont folks who are on the Dresden board, just a reminder that this is a New Hampshire law, so that you can only retain off of the total dollar amount of assessment for New Hampshire. And so this dollar amount of 269,415.37 would represent, I think 1.5% of what the total annual assessment would have been or was. So which that's far below, what we're allowed to retain. But we always, when we promise money back against assessments, we always try to make sure we make good on that. So, I don't think there was any, as I was going through it, and it was a little bit of a bear this year because I had to do all the accounting work behind it. Normally I do that for a long time. I didn't feel like there were any surprises that I didn't realize, There were no surprises or bad to it, so it's pretty complete and comprehensive.
Okay. Board, any questions for Jamie on this? I know the public has a comment or a question, but let me see if the board does first. All right, public, Kari, go ahead.
Yeah, so Kari, Chair of the Hanover and Dresden Anomaly Finance Committee. And first of all, I was going to say that we didn't have this information at our last meeting, so I can't speak to the Finance Committee's thought on this particular proposal, but I can say in the past that we have been very supportive of Dresden retaining up to the full amount possible because of the lack of other reserve funds. So the fact that you have the opportunity of saving, retaining 1.5%, I think would be met very enthusiastically by the Finance Committee. I guess my questions and would be though, I was looking at one of the year-end reports that was online, and I was wanting to know if for the current year, do you have a retainage of 37,000? Is that what
it rolls back in? So it comes out of fund balance and it rolls back in. So that would be included in all of these numbers.
Right. So, and I guess that I was going to say the one thing then was that what the Finance Committee would like to see is because that $37,000, that does not appear in any motion from last year. So if you could consistently make sure that these decisions are made in public meeting with a motion, that would be greatly appreciated so that we can track it. There's also a requirement that this information be included in the annual report, and we've not seen that. So again, although we support this, this has been very difficult for us to keep track of, to know what's there. The final thing would be, you might want to consider having a policy of when you use these funds. We know you can use them for two things. One, if there's an emergency, and I think you all are going to be able to figure out when you need to use it for that reason, but then it's also to alleviate the tax burden. And that's a little bit more of a discretionary decision, and you might want to have some ideas in mind of when that's appropriate and when it's not. Because again, we're interested in seeing you have the reserve funds that you need. And if you haven't decided in advance of when you want to use it to relieve the tax burden, it might be a decision that's made in the moment instead of looking sort of at it all. So that would be my feedback, and good luck going ahead in this budget season.
Thank you, Kari. And just a clarification, I mean, we did, last year we did make a motion and pass the retainage. So that 37,000 though, is that some additional amount that was carried forward that didn't get captured somewhere?
I think probably what happened, if I remember correctly, last year was a very difficult year for my department.
I see, okay.
My mother passed away in that.
Yep.
So I think probably what happened was that it didn't get listed, but it was nested under my report section so that you couldn't easily probably find it in looking
Or
at.
doing a search later,
Right.
anything, or looking at minutes. So again,
Try to keep it as its own line item within the agenda, which is really, it should be done that way.
Yep,
So,
yep. No,
point taken.
yeah, we can, yeah.
yeah, and just
a
so in
clarification.
general, just the being able to have,
Find it.
to find it.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No worries.
So board, when we move on, I'm going to pull that item out of business requiring action and just treat it separately so we can say the right amount, the right percentage with the right dollar amount. So we'll just pull that one out of the consent agenda and handle everything else separately. So if folks were interested, it's going to be 1.52% and $269,415.37. Those are the two numbers that get plugged into the blanks in that motion. Okay. Any further questions, comments on the MS25 UE25A? Seeing none. Deb, talk to us about PragerU financial literacy.
Okay, so people may remember that at the last Dresden board, where Tia Winter from the Leb School Board was here with the Lebanon School Board statement, which they had passed prior to the meeting, the September meeting of the State Board of Education. There was agreement that we couldn't pass something similar, but it was sort of moot because the language was directed at asking them not to approve. So after the meeting, I drafted a document which is attached on the board docs, and ran it by Neil and Tia. People were fine, and I took it to the school board assembly. That was the main point, was to bring that and share it and find out whether or not there were other boards interested. And in fact, 19 boards took copies of the document. That's the only reason I think we want to at least have an FYI. One of them was Lyme School Board rep. Another one was Concord, on the Concord School Board. And she also works, this particular woman works with Granite State Progress. And she has reached out to some of those individual board members about meeting moving forward in a Zoom once a week. So I just want you guys to know that I'm going to do that. If somebody else wants to, she's mindful, we don't want to do anything with quorums, but there are some very eager people in terms of seeing this, something happen with this. And what I told the school board member, I mean, I think it's really great that we have this group of board members who want to be talking together about issues of importance to a common group of school boards. But so I just want to make sure you guys are all okay with that document, that you're okay with me on the Zoom, that if you want to join, I'll share the information with you. But I also said to the Lyme school board member that my understanding of what was happening next was that we would look to share this document as a group of school boards with either local newspapers, make a statement in that respect, to put pressure on the governor, which I don't think will have any effect, but to let people know that school boards are paying attention and are speaking together rather than in a disparate fashion. So that's all I wanted to report.
Any questions for Deb on this?
Just thinking.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly keep the discussion going with those other board members. If stuff pops
Absolutely.
up from those discussions, please bring them to this board, especially if you're looking for something that would want board level approval so that we could collectively move forward on something that would be
Okay.
awesome. All right, board, moving on to business requiring action. I'd look for a motion for consent agenda items D through E, please. Kelly?
Well, you need me to recuse from March Intensive, is that right?
That would be best. Yeah, if you want to, I can pull March Intensive out separately as well too. Then why don't we look for a motion to approve consent agenda items B through D, please? Kim?
Move to approve items B through D by consent.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ben. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. The one guy we had online is no longer with us anymore, so we can just go this way.
And noting that we have Garrett with us as well.
Yep, that's okay. Unfortunately, and I hate to rub this into Garrett, Garrett doesn't get a vote on this thing. But we appreciate his presence and his input nonetheless.
I almost didn't show up.
But that's okay. There's an SAU meeting after this, and you got full voting rights in there. Can we have a motion for the March Intensive program separately then, please? Tony, go ahead.
But
I thought I saw it, so I decided to pick on you.
Move to approve the March Intensive program as presented pending legal review, as discussed.
Okay, second. Any discussion on this? All those in favor? That is, and sorry, abstentions?
Am I abstaining or recusing? That's different, right?
I would abstain.
Okay, then I'll abstain. Sure.
Can I, sorry, I
Yeah.
know we just had the vote, but I wouldn't want to hold up all of March Intensive pending legal review, like all the other programs, just pulling this one.
I
So-
think the discussion that we had prior to the vote indicated that was the will of the board, and so I don't think that there's a whole lot of confusion on that matter at this point. All right, and then did anybody write down those numbers that go into the two blanks for the retainage?
I got them on 5-2.
Holy crap, Jamie put them in there already.
They're already there.
Except that I think that percentage number that I'm seeing is not,
Oh, did I do it wrong?
it's
It's
1.52
1.5.
and it says 2.5.
Oh.
I see 1.5.
Wishful thinking.
Oh, all right.
That
You
was
have to
what the
refresh.
Hey, if you've got the right number, go.
I'll try. Move to approve. Oh, I might have been in my thought. Wait, yes, okay. Move to approve the unaudited projected unassigned fund. No, this is not right.
I can do it.
I
I just
recuse myself
refreshed.
again.
I still got 2.5, is that after I refresh?
Kim, go ahead.
Move to approve the DOE and MS 25 and vote to retain funds in the amount of 1.52, representing $269,415.37.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Tony. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you, board. Moving on to report of the chair. I have no report. Committee reports. Yep.
I just want to let you know that pretty much everything we said was approved the way we voted, with the exception of the resolution about sustainability. And
You're talking about
at the New Hampshire School Board Association. So rather than go through each one, but there was a lot of enormous concern about that particular bill or resolution. And Claremont talked about how they have changed their snow days now to extreme weather days. And people were very, very passionate about the importance of the School Board Association addressing sustainability. So, and I'm glad you gave me the right to vote on things, because I neglected to see that there were 3 bylaws corrections that were unimportant. And the one bill that the one resolution that was kind of cleaning up about the National Association, I was the first one to speak about it and just confirmed why our board did not want to edit out that language. And the president of the executive director of the New Hampshire School Board Association stood up, came out from behind the table and went on a rant and dropped a number of words that I will not repeat at the moment. And when he was done, there was silence in the room. He didn't direct it at me, but nobody else said anything. So anyway, it was entertaining. I offered to do a reenactment, but I was kidding.
Is it
How did the vote go? Did everyone luckily push back, or?
Oh, no, not at all. I was the only person holding up my little 2 ballots. Everybody else went with Eric.
Is it caught on film?
Oh, I don't know.
No, I don't think you,
I don't
it was
think
not
so.
recorded, I don't believe, no.
But it was entertaining. I'll do reenactments during the break.
Any other committee reports? Seeing none, moving on to superintendent's report.
Well, first I want to congratulate you on running an amazingly efficient meeting. Given
We're all terrified.
the length of the agenda that we have. I was prepared to forego my superintendent's report, but since we have a little bit of time, I'm going to.
We also have a need for a non-public.
Yes, we do.
For Dresden.
I do want to tee up, though. I want to mention something, because I was ill and missed the meeting at which our Hanover High School Environmental Club presented, sort of refreshed their climate action plan. I wish I had been here, because I've been working with them and I've joined their climate action plan implementation team. And they have, we have a lot of groups that are actively working on our strategic plan strategy development, but they've actually kind of taken the bull by the horns and have been very diligent in helping to take the various policies that we've put in place, the warrant article that we passed at last year's vote, and are seeking to find ways to help us to sort of actuate the aspirational statements we've made about sustainability and about reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. And the passion and the hard work that our students are putting in on this is evident to me, and I'm eager to help them. So at our SAU meeting, they will be presenting a strategy that we think will help us to do just that by expanding the work they've done on the climate action plan at the high school level district-wide. And we have a plan, I think, that is not restrictive or constraining to future school boards, but does put down on paper some actual things we can do rather than simply profess or aspire to bring ourselves in line with some of the initiatives at the town of Hanover and regionally and nationally to help to do what we can to curb climate change. And my hat's off to them. I'm really impressed with the work they've been doing. So that's my report for now.
Any questions for Jay? Assistant Superintendent's report.
I'll try and be speedy as well. I talked recently about our money that we received through a Title II grant for our woodworking program at the middle school. We had a little bit of money remaining from that, and I was able to purchase another viola for our high school program, which was good. They needed that. And we've been expanding, as you know, at the elementary school, so I think it's really going to come in handy down the road. We had our second K through 12 meeting recently, and again, we're making more progress on strategic planning. I'm seeing some really good things happening with K through 12, people meeting in smaller groups, but looking at the alignment, you know, between K2 and then 5 and 6. And so we're making some of those connections, which has been really positive. We had our first high school curriculum day on the PSAT day. So any of the departments that were not proctoring the PSAT day were involved in that. And recently I've started working with Karen Wright. She's our loan technology person remaining, and she's been responsible for really designing the website. And she's working with me now to think about how we want to roll out our curriculum for the public. So hopefully we can start working on that this summer. But that's what I've been working on.
Any questions for Robin? Yes.
Just sort of following up on the theme of math from the 2 principal reports earlier. Since there's such a great change in middle school, I'm assuming that part of your curriculum work is kind of tracking the impact on the high school. I know it's impossible to know yet, but
Right. And actually, a lot of these changes that are happening at the middle school were recommended by the high school based on what they were seeing. So, and I think also we'll start seeing the implications from implementing a new math program at the elementary school. So I think all of these pieces combined, but definitely we'll continue to look at the data around that and see if what we proposed and what we're doing is working.
And then again, I've heard a couple concerns from high school parents about the implications for science placement.
Yeah.
So just didn't want that to get lost in the shuffle and just think it was just math to math, but
right.
It affects other stuff too. So
yes, yeah, for sure.
Ben?
As I recall, weren't there COVID vaccines offered to teachers in previous years, like for the booster shots?
No, we've offered the flu shot, but not the COVID shots.
One thing I've noticed, I happened to be in the Hell Library yesterday when Hanover EMS showed up and all the staff got COVID booster shots. Could that be offered to the teachers theoretically?
I'm not sure. I know I looked into it at one point and we couldn't do it then, but I can ask again. I'm happy to do that. I know a lot of people have been going to the CVS because they've been available there. So, and we did just recently have our flu vaccination clinic here. Jay and I went at the same time.
We asked at our clinic. I asked the guy who came.
Yeah.
He said the main problem is supply.
Right.
That he can't get enough to do the full staff at the school. He says he gets about 10% of what he orders.
And you might want to call the Lebanon superintendent because they did offer COVID boosters and flu shots to the staff.
Okay.
Until they ran out, and they did run out, but they did offer it at the same clinic.
Yeah, that's good to know, because I know we have tried in the past and we weren't able to do it.
Any other questions for Robin? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank
Jamie
you.
Teague, Business Administrator.
Excuse me.
Jamie Teague's been busy doing DOE 25 and budget building, so I don't have a report for you.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Any questions for Jamie, though? All right, we do have a need for non-public session this evening. If you were so inclined to make a motion, it would be.
Can I make a proposal? Could we defer, or I don't know the right word, adjourn this until after the SAU meeting? Because it's just gonna be us, and we have some folks that would like to present before, to start the SAU. Basically suspend the meeting and then redo it after when SAU is all done. Recess. Thank you is the word I was trying to think of.
Whatever that's called.
We can do that if that is the will of the
Is it a long non-public?
board.
Is it a short non-public or a long?
I'm hopeful that it's short, but I can't predict.
Okay, I tried.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm inclined, we're only at 7. I don't know that, while we said that SAU would start at 7, we also said it would start at 7 or at the conclusion of the
Right.
Dresden meeting. I'm only 2 minutes over at this point in time. I'm
Okay, I
inclined to
just thought it
keep
was-
going with the non-public,
I agree.
just so that we can then fully adjourn the Dresden meeting and move into SAU. Jay.
I would kind of defer to Linda. I'm not sure if our students are able to flex, because I did indicate to them that we had a long Dresden agenda and it might be a late night for them, and they insisted on still presenting.
Can I speak?
Sure.
I did send out a hasty email to Virginia and said, you better get here, they're going really fast.
Okay, I thought it was the other way around. Okay.
Luckily, she lives very close.
Okay, I'm just gonna, so they know.
We can
So-
always, we can skip them and come back. when
So
it's-
Linda, if you think
Yeah.
it's all right, I don't think that the non-public is gonna take too long. I
I
think,
think that would be okay. So they were expecting, they were gonna start at 9, so they are probably very excited
Ah.
that it's not 9 o'clock.
9.
I thought it was the other
Start
way
at
around.
9.
Okay.
I try to give them a realistic.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have lied. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Tony,
I was gonna move into non-public, move to enter into non-public session at 7:03 PM under RSA 91A 2C and K.
just 2C.
Just
2C this
2C.
evening. Yep.
2C.
Lisa, are you seconding? Okay, any discussion? Roll call vote, starting with Tony.
There, yes.
Hartman, yes.
Natalia, yes.
Yes.
Odell, yes?
Keeney, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Christie, yes?
All right, we're gonna be over there, gang.
Thanks.
motion. Ben,
Move to approve a best interest placement as proposed by administration.
thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Deb. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none then. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, board. If anybody has any items for a future agenda, please let Rick know. Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Deb,
I move to adjourn at 7:16 PM.
is there a second? Seconded by Lily. We need a roll call vote starting with Tony.
Here, yes.
Hartman, yes.
McCall, yes.
Chapman, yes.
Odell, yes.
Keeney, yes.
Nelson, yes.
Christie, yes.
Rosa, yes.
All right, we are adjourned, folks. Everybody switch over to
Switching
the
to
SAU
SAU,
meeting.
and I did actually, I thought we were gonna be here forever, so I brought homemade cookies, so. Just to get the sugar high going, guys.
Oh my God, those look so good.
I'm dessert for the team dinner service also, I just sort of kept baking, kept on baking.
That's exactly.